Welcome back to the Kaspa Silver YouTube channel. In today's video, I want to answer the question if Kaspa having a living founder is a problem. So the reason why I'm asking this question is because I do happen to watch Bitcoin University, and this is one of the points that he brought up in the past when talking about arguments against Kaspa. He's said in the past that Kaspa is too late to catch up to Bitcoin, and I actually made a video basically debunking that. And then now another one that he recently had said was that Kaspa having a living known founder is a problem. And I want to see and do a little bit of research if this is actually a problem. So if you don't already know, the founder of Kaspa is Jonathan Samplininsky, and his credibility goes all the way back more than 10 years, all the way back to the Ethereum white paper, where he is mentioned in the Ghost protocol, which it was a protocol first petition to hopefully improve Bitcoin. But of course, we know that Bitcoin was never improved upon. It simply kept rejecting change and now has become a store of value. This is where Kaspa comes into play as trying to finish the original Bitcoin vision as being a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, fully decentralized and remaining proof of work on the base layer. Now, this is completely different when we're looking at founders. Bitcoin has a founder, which was Satoshi Nakamoto. Satoshi Nakamoto was an anonymous founder, and also he never sold his Bitcoin and eventually left the project back in like 2011. Ever since then, Bitcoin has actually been developed by a group of people called Bitcoin Core. And a lot of people don't really talk about this, but when Satoshi left, it's not like Bitcoin just completely was just left to nothing and no one's been working on it. No, it has been being worked on. And as you could see here, 96% of all the nodes are running Bitcoin Core, which is the software that is behind those nodes. And who are the core developers? You can see that Satoshi Nakamoto was from 2009 to 2011, and then it was eventually handed off to Gavin all the way up to 2014. And then now recently we have this person here. I don't want to butcher his name, but is 2014 to the present, who is considered the lead. He's like the lead developer of Bitcoin, and the lead developer behind Bitcoin Core, which is the maintainer of the software that the node that people run. So this isn't very much different to how Kaspa run today. There's a group of people behind every single project, even if it is fully decentralized and everything. There's usually a group of people who are the developers and who are trying to maintain the network and ensure that it's working flawlessly and being upgraded. It's also very important to understand the basics of proof of work, that there is no single person that can control the network, because the network is secured by ASIC miners, which are typically decentralized across the whole entire world. And if anyone wanted to make any changes to the network, it would end up creating a brand new coin, because for any changes to take place, you need to have consensus of everyone, of all the network miners on the network, so that a change can actually go through. So people can propose things as changes, but ultimately you do need consensus of everyone so that the change actually goes through for the network to continue moving forward and not create any hard forks or different coins like Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin and all these other hard forks that exist today. So it's really important that even though there is a founder, Jonathan, he really does not have any say, because the community does do the votes on things. And also Kaspa is truly leadershipless, since no one person actually can control the network. That is the whole point of decentralization. So I think the best way to determine if having a living founder is going to be a problem is to compare it to something else that was very similar, and this was Litecoin. If you don't already know, Litecoin also had a founder named Charlie Lee. And the back history to this is that in October 2011, he released Litecoin on Bitcoin Talk. He had written the blockchain technology based on the Bitcoin. In his spare time, while employed at Google, he released Litecoin to public after mining only 150 coins. Lee has stated that he did not intend to compete with Bitcoin, but meant Litecoin to be used for smaller transactions. It was also advertised as the silver to Bitcoin's gold, similar to how Kaspa is today. But ultimately, if we're looking at technology, Litecoin is greatly lagging behind Kaspa, and also it does not hold any of the fundamentals that Kaspa has. Litecoin came out about 2 years after Bitcoin came out, so it doesn't have that long year of research that Kaspa has. When you do the deep dive, you'll find out it's 10 years worth of research, and the protocols and everything behind it are the reason why basically like 99% of cryptos exist in the market, is because of the work that Jonathan has put in on different white papers and protocols that he's been trying to basically perfect proof of work and prove that proof of work can be scalable on the base layer. So if we're looking at Litecoin, the most famous thing about this founder is that he sold all his coins in 2017. And I think this is a huge difference between the founder of Kaspa and the founder of Litecoin. The founder of Litecoin was open about price discussions and actually talking about valuations of Litecoin on Twitter and Reddit. And a lot of people think that that was a conflict of interest, and this is why he sold. He claims he sold because it was a conflict of interest. And the good thing about Jonathan is that he's actually a very quiet individual, and he barely talks on Twitter or in the Discord. And if he does, it's purely academic and very technical things that he's talking about. He's not really ever talking about valuations of Kaspa. A lot of people don't really know this, but Jonathan is not really a coder either. There's a lot of other people than the core people here that are shown on the website that are working on Kaspa and are coders. Jonathan is more of a researcher and a writer of white papers. That's why if you go to the main page here, you could see the different white papers, Ghost Dag and Dag Knight. These were both founded by him and some other people here, Shai and Aviv. We can also look at the Dag Knight white paper, which is probably going to be one of the best protocols to ever exist once it's implemented on Kaspa, but it was developed by Jonathan and Michael Sutton. Michael Sutton is one that actually codes for Kaspa more often, but Jonathan is more of a researcher and writer, and then Michael Sutton kind of translates this writing into code. Also, for just comparing Litecoin to Kaspa real quick, currently Kaspa is sitting at number 2 as like the best proof of work when it comes to mining emissions. $1.74 million worth of mining emissions in the last 24 hours. Litecoin is sitting at number 6 when you're looking at this metric. Also, if you're looking at the cost to produce a 51% attack, currently Litecoin is sitting at $63,000 for a 1-hour attack, and Kaspa sitting at $73,000 for a 1-hour attack. So Kaspa sitting at the number 2 best proof of work secured coin for a 1-hour attack cost. And then lastly here, if we're looking at block times, Litecoin still has 2.5 minute block times and Bitcoin has 10-minute block times, while Kaspa has 1 second block times. You can see 60 blocks per minute. That means there's 1 block every single second. And eventually there's going to be 10 blocks per second in the future. And it probably may even increase more than that. So just looking at those metrics, Kaspa, by far, the technology is better than Litecoin. But they both share the fact that they have a living known founder. Now, I want to go into some tweets here to kind of show the founder of Kaspa and just how he is as a person and the back history of Kaspa. So here this tweet says, I gave an hour AMA today to some interested folks at the office about the history of money, centralized finance, Bitcoin, and Kaspa. The last question was, what became of the entity that created Kaspa? My answer was the operation was a success, but the doctor died. What do you mean? And Jonathan actually responded to this and says, the operation was successful, but the doctor died. Nailed it. If the patient is a money system, the doctor must vanish because money is a medium rather than a product. It must emerge rather than be purpose. And then he says, at Dag Labs official RIP. And if you don't know the back history of that, I have a couple videos explaining that. You can also take a look at this Dag Labs Twitter and see that they have not been active for a very long time. And this is because Dag Labs was a company that was behind the research and the development of Kaspa before it actually fully launched to the public, and I have videos explaining that. You can also go to the wiki page and read about that. I would have a link down below for that. And if you look to the daglabs.com website, you could see that it's up for grabs right now. It no longer exists because Daglabs ultimately failed as a company, which is good because for Kaspa to be where it is today, this needed to fail because Kaspa is actually trying to be money and do the currency part of crypto and not be another crypto company like all the thousands of other cryptos that are out there. So as I was saying, that Charlie Lee was very known for talking about the price. You can even see this user here back in a few years back said, I was never upset. Him being completely honest and out in the open only made me respect him more. I even sold a little after his tweet, which got me out around 380, as well as his call for a possible $20 Litecoin bottom made me buy a bunch more in the 30s and 20s. If anything, he is the most accurate guesser when it comes to crypto prices. He does a lot of good work for the space and always kept everything open. I admire Charlie. And this has just been a discussion for the longest that people really didn't like that he sold all his coins. Some people really don't care, think it's matter, think it's better that he sold it all. Because currently today, Charlie Lee is still working on Litecoin. But like I said, it is lagging greatly behind Kaspa now. You can even see here, this is a recent article back in May. Charlie Lee shares huge prediction for LTC price. Again, just showing that he's active on Twitter, talking about valuations. And I think it's just not a smart move for a founder. And I really appreciate the Kaspa founder and devs that they're very hesitant to try to talk about price, just because, of course, since they are kind of behind the work of Kaspa, they could have a higher weight with what they say. But Jonathan is a very quiet individual. And I also kind of want to showcase this here is that a Discord user one time came into the chat and tried to troll, really ends up loving Kaspa, but was trolling saying might buy back when Somplinitsky shows interest in the project again. And the funny thing is that he's true. It does appear as if Jonathan doesn't have any interest in the project or he's not doing anything. But if you do research, you'll find out that he is working behind the scenes on Kaspa and trying to develop basically the best base layer to ever exist in the proof of work scene. So he's just focused on work. He doesn't really talk much. And I think that's really important as a founder, as he just continues to not really exist, because a lot of people join Kaspa and they don't even know the founder unless they do their research. And that's really good because that means the founder just has less of a weight to Kaspa. But of course, if we're just looking at this objectively, does this have any risk for Kaspa? I think, of course, if he says anything that could potentially be offensive, we've seen it in the past. People have gotten emotional and sold their bags if they just disagree with him. So is that a risk? I guess maybe. But most people that are serious investors into Kaspa really understand what's trying to be built here and understand that, everyone's going to have their own opinions about things. We all here in this community don't agree on everything, but we do agree on the basics, that the mission of Kaspa. So ultimately, I think that having a living founder, the only risk is if maybe he may start talking about the price, which I think is highly unlikely. He's really never done that. Or if he starts talking about, let's say he says, I'm just going to leave Kaspa and make another coin, which again is just very unlikely to happen because Kaspa is a product of his 10 years worth of work. It wouldn't make sense for him to just leave his 10 years worth of work to try to do something else somewhere else. So, when looking at this, honestly, I think the rewards still outweigh any of the potential risk or problem this may be. Some people may see that, and I really want to hear your thoughts and opinion about, do you think Kaspa having a living founder is a risk when comparing it to like Bitcoin, how Bitcoin doesn't really have a founder anymore. And like I was discussing about Bitcoin Core, that it does have those devs that are behind it, and almost all the nodes are running that software. Those devs don't really have a lot of weight at all. They're not really known. No one really talks about them. Everyone really talks about Satoshi and that he was anonymous and he's gone now. So I want to hear your thoughts and opinion, but ultimately, when looking at a project and really just trying to see if it is valuable, it's very important to look at the Kaspa BTC chart. or look at the BTC chart against any other cryptocurrency to see that it is outperforming Bitcoin, which Kaspa has been doing. This is very important. And if we were to look at something like Litecoin, you could see that it has not been outperforming Bitcoin. Bitcoin won the hard fork wars pretty much. And ultimately, it's always been better to just hold Bitcoin against things like Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and all those other hard forks of Bitcoin. But as always, as much as I may be biased on this channel, I like to objectively look at things, and I'm always very open to any kind of FUD or disagreement or arguments you have against Kaspa. I really would love to talk about them because my money is in Kaspa. I do believe it's going to be like one of the best assets to hold into the next decade because I think it's truly finishing the purpose of crypto, what was it was intended to be. So I want to know that I'm holding my money in a sound currency. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. And if you guys are interested in supporting my work here, please consider joining my Patreon. You guys can get early access to all my YouTube videos before they go out live to the public. You can also get access to free weekly giveaways and also talk to like-minded people like myself. So please leave a like on the video, subscribe if you guys are new around here, and as always, don't be average, be different.